It's no exaggeration to say that skilled members of Local 5 built this city. Their fingerprints are on every major landmark you can think of, from the White House to FedEx Field. If you've ever enjoyed a cool drink of water on a hot summer's day at RFK Stadium, had a bite to eat at a cafe in one of the Smithsonian museums, or used the facilities at any federal government building constructed after 1890, you've got a member of Plumbers Local 5 to thank for it. But the impact of Local 5 goes beyond just buildings. The efforts of the American labor movement, in which Local 5 has played a crucial role, have set the standard for wages and improved working conditions for all Americans. It was union members who fought for many of the benefits we take for granted today: lunch breaks, overtime pay, workplace safety protections, and paid holidays off. After 125 years of faithful service, we rightfully cherish our proud heritage, our origins in the Knights of Labor, our essential role in the formation of the United Association, and our contributions to the advancement of trade unionism throughout the country. This long tradition started more than 125 years ago when industrialization altered the fabric of both our economy and society. The emergence of sweatshops and mechanization threatened to eliminate jobs and to denigrate the crafts into low-paying, menial work. In the mid-1800s, a typical laborer would work more than 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and there was no such thing as overtime pay. Safety took a back seat to efficiency on most job sites, so accidents were frequent. It was a period of great economic growth, but the business tycoons of the day were the only ones reaping the benefits, and unions were still illegal in much of the country. Workers began to vocalize their discontent with the inequity and poor working conditions, but not always openly, for fear of persecution. Many wrote under false names, penning anonymous editorials printed in journals like The Rasp, a monthly pipe trades publication. In 1888, Philip Grace, the man who edited, published, and personally financed The Rasp, urged a Boston plumber named Patrick Quinlan to correspond directly with Richard O'Brien, a plumber in Washington, D.C., both regular contributors to The Rasp. Their exchange of letters led to the scheduling of a formal convention in our capital. On October 7, 1889, 40 delegates from 17 cities gathered in D.C. to draw up a constitution for a new organization called the United Association of Journeymen Plumbers, Gasfitters, Steamfitters, and Steamfitters Helpers of the United States and Canada. The United Association put out an official call for affiliation that December. Local 5 takes great pride in being one of the first 7 locals chartered by the UA. We owe our existence to the dedication and sacrifice of O'Brien and many early brothers. James S. O'Hagan, who hand-copied letters distributed to bring various unions into the UA. William J. Spencer, who traveled the country as UA general organizer, founding locals and implementing the UA's nationalization program, and countless other early leaders. One of the first actions of the new union was to appoint a committee to lobby for the establishment of plumbing codes in the District of Columbia. Protecting the health of the nation's capital isn't just an empty slogan. Such modern conveniences as flush toilets and clean tap water tend to be taken for granted nowadays, but their impact on public health cannot be underestimated. The sanitary revolution allowed for the eradication of diseases like typhoid and cholera and is widely recognized as the greatest medical breakthrough of the past 200 years, more important even than the discovery of antibiotics and the development of vaccines. In addition to establishing plumbing codes in the early years, Local 5 focused on regulating the use of apprentices and helpers, improving wages and working conditions, and advocating for the 8-hour workday. Membership fluctuated during the first decade, reflecting the turbulence of a period when recurrent economic depressions destabilized the construction industry. Labor and management frequently resorted to prolonged boycotts, strikes, and lockouts in order to settle disputes. During the open shop era of the 1920s, workers were often required to sign yellow dog contracts, promising not to join a labor union. Membership in unions around the country declined, but even greater challenges lay ahead. In 1929, the stock market crashed and thousands of banks failed. Families suffered as unemployment soared and construction all but stopped, leading to a significant decline in manufacturing. In a letter to the Local dated February 1934, a father of 6 children wrote, "I cannot let my wife and children suffer anymore. It seems impossible to find a job." These were dark times. Finally, under the leadership of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, the U.S. slowly emerged from the Great Depression. Roosevelt pushed Congress to pass legislation that not only relieved the suffering of the unemployed, but also provided government-subsidized work. In this period, Local 5 members installed the plumbing systems in many of our government buildings still used today. Roosevelt's New Deal also reformed the government's labor policy. The Wagner, or National Labor Relations Act, established the first national policy protecting the rights of workers to organize, and in 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act set the first national minimum wage. With the economic recovery underway, regulation of apprenticeship became a priority. Government and labor together began to establish uniform standards for the selection, employment, and training of apprentices with the passage of the National Apprentice Act of 1937, and the UA issued its first national standard the following year. Local 5 opened its apprenticeship school in 1940 in a facility shared with a vocational school. In the 1950s, when this arrangement proved insufficient, Local 5 partnered with the Steamfitters Local 602 to buy and operate a school building in D.C. The entry of the United States into World War II in 1941 sharply reduced the amount of private residential work and increased the demand for journeymen on public housing and heavy construction defense projects. As a result, Local 5 admitted large numbers of auxiliary workers to full membership, which almost tripled between 1939 and 1943. In this period, Local 5 members installed the piping systems for a number of important government and military facilities, including the Pentagon, Bethesda Naval Hospital, and the National Institutes of Health. The early 1950s marked somewhat of a slowdown for Local 5. With the country no longer at war, lucrative defense projects were simply not to be found. Utilities helped keep the local going. Sewer and water treatment plants were a necessity, and there was a fair amount of mechanical work. In the 1960s, Local 5 members benefited from a construction boom and played a pivotal role in the installation of piping systems in RFK Stadium, the Rayburn House Office Building, and the Hilton Hotel. Local 5 contributed directly to the development of national training standards. Members Alexander Bell, George Mazico, Charles Bridget, DeForest Rathbone, and George Bliss III helped rewrite training texts for the UA. The prosperity of the early 1960s soon gave way to the social upheaval of the civil rights movement and anti-war protests. The first minority apprentices in Local 5 started classes in 1963 and graduated in 1968. Women entered the program in the late 1970s and were well represented by the first female graduates, Alma Long and Yolanda Lucas. When the social and political turmoil subsided in the mid-1970s, we in Local 5 found ourselves competing with a resurgent open shop movement for what little work there was available. By 1976, unemployment in the construction industry had reached 18 to 20%, the highest rate since the Great Depression. Government policies only worsened the situation as we entered the anti-labor era of Reaganomics. Local 5 agreed to concessions in order to make union contractors more competitive, including wage freezes and contract extensions. We also initiated training and speculative journeyman programs, which attracted non-union workers seeking employment, benefits, and representation. The 1980s proved challenging, but Local 5 made it through unscathed. While Local 5 established medical and pension funds to benefit current members, we also set aside money for training to secure the future of our trade. Since the establishment of apprenticeship and journeyman training facilities in the early 1940s, Local 5 apprentices have benefited from the experience and dedication of many exceptional instructors. In 1975, we established a new joint training facility, the UA Mechanical Trade School in Landover, Maryland. As our membership increased in the following decades, the need for more space became apparent. We outgrew our office at 12th and O Street and in 2000 moved to our present location in Camp Springs, dedicating the building to former Local 5 business manager Michael Collins. Then, on September 11, 2001, the world changed. Nearly 3,000 died in a series of 4 coordinated terrorist attacks by Al-Qaeda. Union workers from across the country were crucial in the recovery and rebuilding efforts at each crash site. As our brothers and sisters clambered over rubble at Ground Zero in New York, Local 5 members assisted with rebuilding the Pentagon, contributed to the 9/11 Fund, and participated in blood drives and fundraising efforts to help victims. Some members chose to serve our country by joining the armed forces, fighting to protect our freedoms abroad. The economy took another turn for the worse in 2008. The housing bubble burst, and thanks to greedy and unscrupulous investors on Wall Street, the stock market crashed, leading to a dramatic spike in unemployment. With families across the country struggling to make ends meet, Local 5 remains committed to serving the community through volunteer work and charitable fundraising. Each year, our members participate in the Heats On, Waters Off program, providing free housing renovations, plumbing, heating and air conditioning inspections, and repairs for the needy. Unfortunately, veterans returning home from tours in Iraq and Afghanistan still face a tough job market. This, combined with a growing shortage of skilled workers in the construction industry, has spurred the development of programs offering high-quality skills training and jobs in the pipe trades and construction industry to military personnel. Programs like Helmets to Hard Hats and the UA-sponsored Veterans in Piping improve the lives of our servicemen and women, their families, and shape our national economy. Graduates of our apprenticeship program are the best skilled, most qualified workers, bar none. Our superior training is what sets us apart from our non-union competitors, and our brand new 53,000 square foot training facility will allow us to reduce class sizes for even more effective teaching and hands-on instruction. We'll be able to hold classes all year round and offer training on the most cutting-edge green technologies. Located in Lanham, Maryland, the building qualifies for Silver LEED certification and includes an 8,000 square foot welding shop, a rainwater harvesting system, solar panels, large classrooms, and lab areas with room for future expansion. As we progress into the 21st century, we take with us the determination, skills, and pride with which we've built an impressive legacy and a strong foundation for the future.
It took two people to start a union. One guy with an idea and another guy to believe in that idea. We've had our ups and downs, we'll continue to have our ups and downs, but we need to continue to fight the battle to be the best, to stay the best, and to grow, and to be around for another 125 years. With that said, happy anniversary, Plumbers and Gasfitters Local 5. I hope to see you at the 150th.